Hi and welcome to this week's podcast episode of Web3 Compass. In this episode, we will take a deep dive with the NFT OG Adidust, where we'll talk about different projects such as the grades, Hashmasks. We will talk about what, in his opinion, a successful project is and how we differentiate, for example, between just cash grabs and real art, and also purpose or what makes some NFT projects special for us. And in the end, we will also talk about what's Adidust currently up to. I have to say, as a quick disclaimer, we are talking about NFTs, but nothing in this episode is financial advice, so this is for entertaining purposes only. Please always do your own research, and stay tuned. On today's week's podcast episode, I have Adidust as my guest. He is a Web3 community builder, NFT collector, and advisor. Welcome, Adidust.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So my first question is always, who is Adidust, or who are you and what do you do?
All right, so as to who am I, you describe it pretty much in the introduction. So I do community building, mostly in Discord, although I did launch several projects with a bunch of companies and a bunch of NFT, like several NFT projects to be more clear. And amongst those, we can count the Hashmasks, the grades, Asian as well. And I also help a bunch of my friends that are also working in the Web3 space and have their own projects with advising and community management. So basically, that is pretty much of what I do in the space. And one more thing to add, my work does involve building communities. And then one of the jobs that I'm actually working with, one of the companies that I'm working with is called Triroll. And then Triroll is a company that launches social tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. So for like any type of creator, content creator, artist, musician, film producer, you name it. If you have a community and you have a following, not necessarily with or without a following, but you want to launch a social token and want to monetize on that audience, then Triroll is the place for you, basically.
Very interesting, and also very interesting what you are doing on all these different NFT projects. But maybe for those who do not know you already, so Adidust is like more often, how do you say it? More like your internet personality, right? Where you use that name in order to stay anonymous, right?
Yeah, correct. So let's make clear one thing. The companies that I work for, they know my real identity. I am doxed to them because they have my copy of passport. They have my real identity, so they know that even though in Web3, like let's say in Discord or Twitter or on other socials like Instagram and whatnot, or Twitch, I am anonymous. The people that I work with, they know my full identity, and we've met in person. The majority of the times, because as you know, like Web3 is across the globe. It's not just in one country alone, and they do know who I am, like for real. They know my identity. So just to make that clear.
Yeah, and maybe it might be a personal question and you do not have to answer it, but is there like a specific reason why you decided to stay anonymous?
Yes. So one of the reasons that I like to stay anonymous is because of the high frequency of trading that I do. And it's not just that, but when you buy and sell and hold assets that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, or like at the moment, let's say thousands of dollars, $10,000, over $10,000, then you don't really want to be, putting a target on your forehead, saying that, oh, this is me, this is who I am, and then like publicly stating like what your portfolio looks like, because that can be prone to attacks and hacks and like personal like injuries and whatnot. So I'm trying to avoid that by staying anonymous, and then like I said, pretty much talks to everybody else that I've worked with so far in the space.
Yeah, totally understandable. And maybe since now you have a lot of experience, but if we go a little bit back in time, when and how did you first got in contact with cryptocurrencies or Web3 in general?
All right. So this goes back way into 2017. I had a friend, funny enough, he's an IRL friend, that because we were both climbers. I mean, we are still both climbers. And then he came around and was like, "Oh, have you heard about this project like CryptoKitties? They are doing breedable cats on the blockchain." I was like, "What? That sounds insane." So, and I didn't really pay much attention to it at the time. But then because I was pretty much connected with the new development, like what's happening in the tech world, the medical world, and pretty much like what's going on with space and whatnot. And I was reading a lot of articles at the time. I came across Bitcoin,
Mhm.
and ever since went, I was down deep learning about Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? What does it do? Why do we need Bitcoin to begin with? And it took me about 2-3 months before I actually bought my first Bitcoin. And
Mhm.
then from there, I bought my first Bitcoin. I sold my first Bitcoin. Then I bought a bunch of Ethereum. And then I remembered and relearned about CryptoKitties. I remember my friend telling me like, "Oh, these cats are like breedable on the blockchain." And I'm not at the time. This was pretty novel. I mean, basically, the guys at Dapper Labs, which are the founders of CryptoKitties at the time, they invented the ERC 721, which stands for NFTs as we
Mhm.
know it. And it was like we didn't have OpenSea back in the day. We didn't have any marketplace. We were literally just a bunch of degens trading and breeding in Discord at the time. Like I was trading with Pranksy and Kitten Mittens. I mean, these are um, high frequency traders, and they own like dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of cats still on the blockchain, which is crazy. And at the time, like I don't know if you remember, but CryptoKitties did clog the Ethereum blockchain. So that was my entry into the like first through Bitcoin. Then I bought Ethereum, and then I started buying CryptoKitties. So I bought myself the first two CryptoKitties, which were the Gen Zeros. And then from there, I think I bred myself into like at least 2,000 to 2,500 CryptoKitties, which I still own to date. And it's insane if you ask me. You can call me a digital cat hoarder.
That sounds amazing. And maybe talking about CryptoKitties, I have not followed the project. So I know that there was this project, but is it still existing and are people still being active in this community?
Yeah. So the project still exists because it's on the blockchain. So this is the beauty of the blockchain. It doesn't matter what the team does because the guys at Dapper Labs, they have moved on to create their own blockchain,
Mhm.
which is Flow. I'm not sure if you know about it, but Flow is quite a big popular blockchain because they launched NBA Top Shot, and then they
Mhm.
onboarded millions into the Web3 ecosystem through the like selling Top Shot moments. So what's happening with CryptoKitties is still active, but it's not as active as it used to be back in the day when they first launched, because obviously the resources have moved and the like moved over to the Flow blockchain. And then there was discussions at some point. I'm not sure where is this now, but they were discussing on to bring in the CryptoKitties like breeding aspect and like the whole NFT ecosystem into the Flow blockchain. I'm not sure what's going on with that because I've not followed with the development, but so to me, like CryptoKitties still have value regardless of what's happening with the team, because those are historical NFTs memorabilia that even though as time passes, there are like like there's certain NFT historians out there that believe certain assets that were pre, let's say, the 2021 era. Like
Mhm.
we have Bored Apes, we have CryptoPunk. I mean, CryptoPunk's a 2017 project too, but like we have a bunch of projects now that if you look at like top sales or like top trending on, let's say, OpenSea, which is the most popular marketplace of NFTs, you'll see that there's a bunch of projects that nobody heard of, or some of them the majority of people have heard of, but they are like they came into the space later. So the idea of CryptoKitties being a memorabilia, which is stuck in the past but is still working because of the beauty of the blockchain technology and smart contracts, I still find them valuable whether they have a team behind it or not.
Mhm.
I hope that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, totally. And I think this is also very interesting about NFTs because I would say some of them are like artifacts of our pop culture, which basically, how you say it, they manifest the current time on the blockchain. For example, like the punks or also the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Um, but oftentimes, I think there are, of course, also a lot of NFT projects which don't have, in my opinion, a real purpose or are also not art and are their main purpose is probably to cash in for the owners a lot of money. And
Yep.
this leads me to my question, what is the meaning of NFTs to you?
Yep. So I was gonna get to that. This, I mean, segue from the second question you had. So what NFTs do? So let's put it this way: if you play a game, online game from a Web2 company, I don't know, from like Ubisoft or Blizzard or whatever, World of Warcraft, um, um, and then if you decide to spend your money on skins or weapons or on upgrades, whatever, you name it, what happens is if you do not agree with the company's policies, and then you go say something either on the socials or like just say something in the support or whatever, and they decide to close your account, you lose those assets. And then you might have spent thousands of dollars or like hundreds of dollars. For some people, it is a lot of money. And what happens is, if they do that, you lose your account, you lose your assets because you don't have ownership of it. They have ownership of it. Whereas with NFTs, not all NFTs, but some NFTs that are fully on blockchain, you own those assets. And then it does not matter what happens to the company that founded and then launched those NFTs, as long as there is a working marketplace for you, and as long there is an open immutable ledger, which we have with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, there's a bunch of other ledgers that are launched like Solana and Tezos and whatnot, but those are not as decentralized as the Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Mhm.
uh, this offers us the opportunity to be our own custodians, and then it does not matter what the underlying foundation of the project does. If they decide to stop developing for the project, it people don't care. I mean, I can still take my assets, I can still sell them on the marketplace, I can still own them, and then even if their website shuts down, I can still call the metadata of the blockchain and then pretty much make up my NFT.
Mhm.
So that is the beauty of the blockchain and what an NFT means to me: ownership and provenance on an immutable ledger.
Yeah, and I think it also has to be from an information technology standpoint implemented correctly, right? Because you also have to have, let's say, your artwork um, probably in the best case on like the IPFS network
Mm-hmm.
and not like on a centralized storage. Because I think this is also something a lot of people had not in mind, that a
Yep.
lot of these NFTs linked to basically pictures or JPEGs, which were stored in like centralized systems.
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, I agree. I mean, we have a bunch of software and technological smart contracts out there that does this for us. You mentioned IPFS, but there's also Arweave, and then there's a bunch of other companies that are launching that does this. And now we have Bitcoin ordinals, which are literally NFTs on Bitcoin. And then this is for some like technical people. This is slightly more advanced than Ethereum because apparently these are immutable and you can't really like delete them. You can't get rid of them as you could easily get rid of Ethereum NFTs. So Bitcoin ordinals are slightly more immutable than NFTs on Ethereum. Even though like this technology is quite new, I'm not sure if you actually even heard of it, but this is literally a development of the past 3-4 months. and then there's no marketplace for them. Like people are trading ordinals, like Bitcoin NFTs, on literally in Discord, basically. And it reminds me, it gives me the vibes of like the early CryptoKitties days when the NFT craze started, and then people were trading in Discord because there was no marketplace for it. But the tools are developing quickly, and yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, Young also I think posted something on LinkedIn. So he was the guy I had on my podcast from the Blockchain Founders Group, and I wanted to do some research on Bitcoin ordinals. But I also have to say sometimes it's very hard to keep up with the pace and all the different developments. Um, yeah, but I also wanted to ask you, since a lot of NFT projects have failed, and also let's say the team is not there anymore, um, what does an NFT project, in your opinion, need in order to be successful?
Right. So there's a couple of things here. I think that, so let's say the majority of the projects, they might not have taken into account that the meta is changing. So the meta in the space, in the NFT land space, is constantly changing. Like the narrative for the past, I think for the past 4 months was the checks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the checks project, which is like is the highest grossing, like highest exploding project in the NFT space, that they took over everything. Like there was open editions of checks everywhere. So that was one meta. The next meta that we're following right now is the Bitcoin ordinals NFTs. So that's the next meta. And
Mhm.
then why some of these projects have not, I mean, this is not necessarily related, but what I'm trying to emphasize here on is the fact that meta always changes. And then you, as a founder of a project, if you're not attuned to what's going on in the space, like almost 24/7, you might just miss on a bunch of points, and then you're prone to failure. So what's going on here is that if you don't build a project that's in tune with the current meta, and then also like have a real like eye, and you keep your ears and eyes peeled for what's going on in the space, like constantly, um, is your project might take off, might not take off, but also you also need to account for like a runway of funds to keep it
Mhm.
going for a long time. So don't necessarily rely on the mint price of a project like, oh, I'm going to launch an NFT and then I'm going to make a bunch of money and I'm going to cash out and then be done with it. That's not the way. That sounds like a cash grab, pump and dump, or whatever you want to call it. But you need to allocate like team development, project development, and there's a bunch of things that you need to account for. And then a bunch of projects that did not make it through the first, I mean, not the first, but like the 2021 cycle, is because they didn't account for these things like the meta, the runway, and also some of them purely they just came for the money. They wanted maximum value extraction and then just vanish into the ether, like pun intended.
Mhm. And maybe if we take these traditional NFT projects, I always think about, so what's the value or the utility of this NFT project? And I would say some projects, for example, the grades from Beltracchi, they are for me like digital art, which is how do you say it, based on the blockchain. And there are some other projects which for me are more or less like a catalyst to raise money, like
Mm-hmm.
some way of Kickstarter campaign where you might have like a bigger purpose. Let's say doing something against climate change, or like a higher goal. But I think a lot of projects are like art projects where I would say I'm not so sure how or how good the art behind this project is, or if they really do this for the art. And then I'm not sure if the projects have utility, and especially in the long run, I think a lot of projects are just created to to be a cash grab. And maybe here, how do you select your projects, and do you also go into projects just to make like a quick profit? So not like as a community builder, but more as a trader? And where do you see in, let's say, the most promising projects? Where do you see the added value in them?
So this takes into account, like, so basically you're saying like what is the most I mean, what does an NFT project needs in order to be successful, and then also like a personal question, how I position myself, like what do I collect, like do I collect stuff that's is mainly for flipping, or do I collect stuff that is mainly for like because I purely like the art, or I like the artist, and or also might have like significance, not necessarily valuable, like it might have significance in the history of the blockchain and NFTs. So I do a bit of everything.
Mhm.
And for me, like the most successful projects out there is not the ones that are currently in, let's say, top 10, top 100 on, I don't know, on any given marketplace, right? For me, are the ones that are did something innovative in the space, and then there's a handful of projects that did this, and they're
Mhm.
not necessarily. I mean, people might have cashed out by launching these projects, sure, but like they also brought innovation to the space, and then that's also important. So, so to speak, what projects I collect like with the long-term vision. Some of them are in the lines of like CryptoPunks, and
Mhm.
I do own a CryptoPunk. I used to own a bunch more, but obviously you gotta sell to, you know, there's no shame in selling to, when profits are there to be made.
Mhm.
And and then there's the Squiggles from Snowfro, which is the Rblocks founder, because this is also a significant technological not necessarily breakthrough, but they managed to put the whole art and the whole metadata on the blockchain with art blocks. And because this collection is launched by the founder, it's the one that will hold the most significant value, at least for me. That's how I see it. And then there's projects like the Hashmasks. There's projects like Ethereum, and
Mhm.
Ethereum. It is actually the first ever NFT on the blockchain, and then is also the first metaverse land NFT project that ever came, because like in 2017, I think 2018, Decentraland and CryptoVox was launched. And then these guys were the first to kind of have like, oh yeah, we are the first project in the metaverse with the metaverse land. And then Sandbox came along, and there's a bunch of other projects that came along with land. But then I think that Ethereum is actually the first one because they launched in 2015. And this is
Mhm.
prior to CryptoKitties, prior to CryptoPunks, prior to a bunch of other projects that are like significant in the space. And and to answer the second part of the question, like what do NFT projects need in order to be successful? I think the most important thing is vision, plan, and execution. And also to have, like what I was mentioning earlier, to have the ability to listen to your community, because they are the shareholders of the project. So it's literally community members. Whoever buys into an NFT project, you can count them as investors. Of course, not everything is investing, because not every, as we mentioned earlier, or as you said earlier, not everything is meant to be an investment. Some of the NFTs are just art, and that's completely fine. And some of the NFTs, they don't have any utility. They don't have to have any utility, like real utility. Like the utility is the art. When you
Mhm.
buy, so let's say you buy um, an expensive painting from Sotheby's or Christie's, and then you take it home. You're not gonna go back to Christie's or Sotheby's and ask them 3 months later down the road, like, am I gonna get an airdrop, or am I gonna get like a new art because I hold this artist or whatever? No, the utility is the art itself. So nothing wrong with that. But I think that's what a project needs to have in terms of uh, becoming successful, at least be successful to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because also collecting NFTs who have like an impact on technology, or let's say NFT projects who were like maybe the first project who did something, and and because how they did it, they had like more or less historical impact on the whole Web3 space or information technology space, also speaking more generally. I think this is very interesting to collect these let's say, timepieces, more or less also as relicts or something like that, the
Yep.
same way as people collect maybe historical weapons or dresses or coins or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much the same. So like some of these projects will become like memorabilia, as I was saying earlier. So the earliest projects that are launched and are being rediscovered and then put on the like the history timeline of NFTs, I think they will hold some significant value, whether it's in like monetary value or whether it's in historical value, because that's also important. I think to me, historical value has more significance than monetary value because
Mhm.
it's something that, I mean, it's a project or it's a contract, it's a smart contract that has brought innovation to the space and then it's tied to a particular time, like timestamp in time that is immutable because that is on the blockchain. You cannot delete that. You cannot take that away unless the internet disappears forever.
Yeah, yeah, I also think the same way. And maybe talking about two specific projects, Hashmasks and the Grades. You have been involved in these projects, and can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure thing. So at the beginning, like when Hashmask launched, I had no idea about it. And there were just like people coming into the CryptoPunks Discord server. So back in 2018, no, 20, I think it's 2021, early 2021 February when Hashmask launched. And then back then, like pretty much all like quote unquote alpha, like on new projects, on how people discover new projects, was shared in the CryptoPunks Discord, and not just in any channel, was in the Punks Hold channel. And then it was and it still is quite expensive to get in there to begin with because the CryptoPunk is not a cheap NFT. Is I think the cheapest is around $100,000 or something along those lines. So people would just come in there and then drop the alpha and be like, "Oh, this project is launching. You guys might want to keep an eye on it or like just check it out." And so that's how we learned about Hashmask. And then I joined the server, the Discord server, and I saw a little bit of a disconnect between the community and the project, and I offered my help. And then
Hmm.
that's how I managed to land. So I first landed a mod job with the community, with the team at the Hashmasks, and then
Hmm.
I landed the community manager spot and also helped them develop their socials, develop their community, and pretty much everything else. And then from there, we went on as team members and become founding members of the Grades project, and then work with Beltracchi to launch the Grades. So that was pretty much how we got into the Hashmasks.
That also sounds very amazing, and also I know it from Discord that a lot of, let's say, high profile projects have these alpha channels.
Mm-hmm.
Some are better than others, but
I don't know, man. I mean, I have my own views on this, and I don't necessarily agree with like what's going on in the space lately, because there's a lot of grinding, and I don't like this aspect of like whitelisting, allow lists to be able to buy and collect a project. It's just this type of grinding. I call it grinding because that's what it is
mm,
literally purely speculative. It's like it's farming for minters. And then what minter stands for, like for the audience that your audience that might not know that, is literally people to come and buy your project so you can sell out. That's what it is. And I hate this aspect because it's so, oh my god, it's so exhausting. And to be able to follow with everything what's going on in the space and then like keep a clear head, it's so hard. And I have friends like they come into my DMs all the time, like, oh, Adrian, you should buy this, you should buy that, you should do this, or you should follow this. And I'm like, listen, I don't do any of this grind. I don't care what's going
yeah,
on. I mean, you guys with your alpha channels, you do you, and leave me alone because I know what's going on. I mean, I live in my own bubble, but they live in their own, like, let's put it in quotes, like alpha bubble. And then that's something that I don't follow because it's just it. I just don't agree with. But that's just my stance on how I see alpha channels in Discords and Twitter and whatever and Telegram.
oftentimes I think in order to get whitelisted, it also has no real purpose. So maybe also to people who are or are not in the NFT space but are interested in Web3 in general, sometimes you have to join like a Discord channel and have to be very active, and it can be tracked, for example, by a bot, how
Hmm.
active you are. And if you're one of the most active community members, you get like a spot on the whitelist, and there you have the possibility to participate in some sort of like a pre-sale of an NFT
Yep.
project, which enables you oftentimes to make like a quick flip and to double your money. But I did it once or twice, and I also have to say, to be honest, these projects, they didn't perform very well, and I got on the
Exactly. Do you
whitelist
know why? Do you know why?
because
Because there's thousands of people just like you doing exactly the same thing. And then what that means is that if you're one of these people that go just for like, okay, I'm gonna grind myself into this whitelist, I'm gonna win the whitelist, and then I'm gonna go mint for like whatever, I'm gonna flip it for 2x. And then what is your main purpose here? If your main purpose is to make money, of course that was going to happen. The whole pack, the whole horde that does the same thing, the whitelist grinding, what they're going to do, they're going to move from project to project, basically. So what this does, this allows you to build a genuine community. And then what hurts the most is because some of these projects, they are dragged into this type of system because they have no choice, because this is the meta.
mm,
And I don't agree with it, but this is what the space has evolved into, where everybody's doing it. And then because if you're not doing it, you might be seen as an outsider, and people might not take you seriously if you're not doing this. Is literally the same that happened to ICOs back in the day. So if you remember when Ethereum launched, and then after Ethereum launched in 2015, there was a bunch of ICOs that started launching on Ethereum as like new promised like crypto tokens. I mean tokens that will change the world, or like Ethereum competitors or whatever. And then people bought into it. It's pretty much the same grinding, if you ask me. And then when everybody's moving from project to project, you are left with nothing. And then obviously the value just like cripples and goes. Not goes to zero, but goes almost to zero, because there's no community behind it. It's literally just flippers moving from project to project. So I think that's why I think this is bad for the ecosystem, and we need to change this mentality. Um,
totally. I also stopped because I think there was no purpose for me in doing this. So
yeah,
sitting
I mean, who's
there,
got like seriously, who's got time to spend like to go into from Discord to Discord to Discord, or Telegram to Twitter Spaces, whatever, to grind yourself into an allow list? And you can't just. This is not feasible. Like imagine you have a full time job, right? With Cloudflare, and then you have to come home, and then you have to be active in a Discord in order for a bot to track your points and assign you levels in order to advance to get this whitelist spot. There's no way you can do it if you have a full-time job. You have to literally quit your job to do this full time. But even this, it does not guarantee success or sustainability.
and it has no purpose. So, I mean, there's no real interaction on the Discord channels. People are with grinding, as you said it, people are just writing useless stuff in the Discord channel just
Yep,
in order to
it's
get on the
literally just
whitelist.
gibberish. Yeah, they're just like they all they saying is like GM, which stands for good
Yeah,
morning, or GN, and like what's up, how you guys doing, and and then they post memes and gifs. That's it, and then that's considered engagement, and I think that's wrong.
I also think that's wrong. And I think it's not, it's a waste of human time because you can
Exactly,
focus your time
exactly.
on more purposeful things. But maybe talking on projects where I think they are unique and also have quite an interesting um, value is, for example, Hashmasks, which has set new standards as an NFT project.
Hmm.
And maybe you can also tell me and also the community a little bit more about what makes the project unique, and also how they set it up, like from an art point perspective. So, because I think there was like a collective of artists who did the project, right?
Yep. Yeah. So Hashmasks is like the art of Hashmask is done by 70 artists worldwide. which are unknown because they all signed an NDA not to disclose who they are. But ultimately, the artists are the two founders who put the project together, because they assigned the task to each artist, and then no artist has done a full hash mask. Every artist has done parts of hash masks. So let's say somebody work on the items like the crowns, the hieroglyphs, or the hidden items. Somebody has worked on the body, somebody has worked on the mask itself, somebody has worked on the background. So no single person has worked from the artist, from the 70 artists. No single person has worked on a full hash mask from start to finish. And then to me, I think the founders of the project are the ultimate artists of the hash mask, because they took everything that they sent out as tasks to all the artists, and they put it together, and they generated the art and the NFTs and the smart contracts. So that on its own is an achievement for them, and it's a legacy for them to go down in history of NFTs, because that is something that nobody, I mean, not nobody, but like not everybody can pull off. And then involving like so
Mm-hmm.
many people, and then pull all this, like all this art and the whole project together. So that's one aspect. And then in terms of innovations and what else they brought to the space, um, so one thing that they brought to the space, which not a lot of other projects have implemented, and what I've not seen like going mainstream, is the dynamic on-chain naming. So what happens is like each hash mask generates 10 NCT, and an NCT stands for name changing token. And these tokens, uh, they were built with the sole purpose to change a hash mask name. So if you wanted, so let's say you buy a hash mask, and then it comes with a number, like its ID is the number. But if you want to change that, you can immutably uh, change it to whatever name you like, as long as that name is not taken and already registered on the Hashmask smart contract. Then you can change it to that name. So let's say you want to change it to your name, that's possible. Or I want to change it to my name, that's also possible, unless that name is taken. And then by doing that, I mean, to do that, you will need to burn 1,830 NCT tokens in order to change the name. And then this also involves a gas transaction, I mean, a gas fee on the Ethereum blockchain. And then what happened lately is when the project launched, and then people started finding out that, oh, you can actually name these Hashmask, and also Hashmask generates NCT. Some community members, they took the token and they pulled it on marketplaces like Uniswap and SushiSwap. So now the token has value too, which is interesting, because the founders of the project, I mean, obviously they knew this was going to happen, because what happens is when you launch tokens on the Ethereum blockchains, I mean, they will follow that protocol's rules, and anybody with the tokens can actually take them to market and market make. And because of regulations, the founders themselves, they did not do this, but the community members did this, and obviously you can't stop this. As I said earlier, it's on the blockchain, it's immutable, you can just go and do it yourself. And so now the token has value, and this is a little bit, I would say, like a little bit of a passive income for Hashmask holders, because as I was saying, Hashmasks generate 10 NCT a day, and then for the next, I believe, is 9 years. Oh no, actually no, 8 years, because we just crossed the second year anniversary at the beginning of February. So what that means, you would be able to generate 10 NCT per hash mask for another 8 years, and then whatever the token price is on the market, I don't know, because I don't check regularly, and that's not really important. But that's is either a little bit of passive income, or you could actually use the tokens to name change your hash mask. And then one other aspect in terms of innovation from the project is the fact that they introduced a bunch of traits into the NFT ecosystem that have not been seen in other projects. They employed some of the traits from other collections like CryptoPunks, because the founders of the project were and still are CryptoPunk holders. And then obviously, because they started their journey in the CryptoPunks community, as an homage to the CryptoPunks project, they incorporate a bunch of traits from from that collection, but they also brought innovations in terms of I wouldn't say necessarily innovation, but like it's something new to the space. So like the crown, the halo, these are like traits that have not been seen in the NFT ecosystem prior to Hashmask. And then I don't think a lot of people know this, but this is something that is also there. That people don't know. And then the other aspect, not to forget, the biggest aspect was the sale mechanism. If you remember, even to date, if you go on the Hashmask website, you'll see the people call it a bonding curve, but it's not a bonding curve. It's more of a price curve, which is an increase price with tiers basically. So like the first tier was about 3,000 NFTs for 0.1 ETH, and then the next 3,000 to 4,000 NFTs were like 0.3 ETH, and then so forth, and then it would go up to 100 ETH, where the last 3 hash masks will be sold for 100 ETH. So that was another aspect that brought a lot of DeFi community members from the DeFi space into NFTs, because there was a bunch of DeFi folks that never used NFTs, but because of this price aspect, it kind of made them jump into the Hashmas project, and then Hashmas kind of became successful on its own because it got adoption for the DeFi ecosystem.
Yeah, from
I
a
know that's a lot to take in. It has a lot to take in. Sorry, I kind of went on a rumble there.
No, I loved it. And from a technological perspective, I think Hashmasks is really outstanding. With the NCT tokens, I have to say I'm always a little bit skeptical about calling it passive income, because here I would say, what's the value of the token? And I would say the value of the token is, of course, to rename your NFT.
Correct.
And here you have to
That is
ask,
the main
how much would you pay?
utility case and the main
Yeah.
purpose of the token, to change
So
the
if,
name of your hash mask.
let's say you need 1,300 tokens, the question is, how much would you pay? Would you pay more than $10 to do it? Maybe some people in the community would definitely do it, because let's say they got quite wealthy over time. But I really love the project, because I think they as we also talked before, they did something new, and there are also a lot of riddles in the project, right? Where you also have to see some plots between the different artworks.
Yes, that's another aspect that we didn't mention, or I didn't mention earlier, is the mysteries. So there's a bunch of traits that are we call them implicit traits, and then that means that these traits are not in the metadata, because they were not intended to be in the metadata. They were intended for the community to discover them and label them as like mysteries. Like there's a bunch of doodles that you can find throughout the collection, and there's a bunch of other traits that like stand out, and people are wondering like, what does these do? Like there's a door like in the doodle background, and then what does that do? Like what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that the project has still going for it, and then people are still trying to decipher it, like the Rosettas, the Voyagers, and the discs that are in the collection. Like people are still trying to decipher those. Like what does it mean? What do they stand for? And then to date, like we still don't have an answer, which is intriguing. I like that aspect.
Yeah, it's just a mystery. And maybe talking about NFT collections, I would say my favorite NFT collection is from Beltracchi, the Greats. And let's say for, how do you say it, a conflict of interest standpoint, I have to say at this point that I also own one of these NFTs. And I really love the art of Beltracchi, which is like, some people call him the art forger of the century, which is not quite technical true, because Beltracchi says or states about himself, he's not a forger, he never forged art. He more or less painted in the style of the artists new works which they didn't paint. But however, he did like an NFT collection, and you were basically, I would say, you were like the community builder, the main community builder of the project, and everybody or at least from my point of perspective, associated the grades with your person. Here, I wanted to ask you also what makes the project special for you, and maybe also how do you think about the whole project, and also where it's going in the future and where it is now.
Okay, so one thing that I believe that the Beltracchi and the grades collection from Beltracchi stands for is the fact that it's his own NFT collection in the like crypto NFT ecosystem. And then why is this significant? Is because if to date, if you try to buy a Beltracchi painting, like an IRL, like a physical painting, good luck with that. Like trying to figure out how to buy a painting from his collectors or like from himself, it's not quite accessible. But this
Mhm.
NFT is like literally out there on the open market where you can go and buy it. Is quite accessible as well. I haven't checked like what the prices are for Beltracchi lately. But the idea here is that this is the only NFT that Beltracchi has, and then what it does and what it does for him and it speaks for him is the fact that he is banned from displaying his collection in any art museum across the world, right? So the
Mhm.
idea of the blockchain, it enabled him to express himself on the blockchain with the Grades project by painting the most famous painting in the world, which is the Salvador Mundi painting by Leonardo da Vinci.
It's not by, it's a
And
fake, right? So Beltracchi said in a podcast that the painting is a fake.
well, nobody knows. No, we don't know for sure, right? We can all speculate. Even Beltracchi can speculate. But
Yeah.
the idea here is that, so going back to the blockchain and immutability of NFTs, it doesn't matter what happens with Beltracchi, or it doesn't matter what happens to his IRL paintings that nobody can track. At least this the Greats project is forever immutable on the blockchain, and you can always find those paintings, and you can always track their provenance, and you can always go and like acquire them from the market because they are there. And it doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter if the government or the museums are canceling or censoring him. These NFTs will always be accessible regardless. So that is the whole beauty of the Grace project, and I think that was the premise. I not think, I believe that is the premise of why Beltracchi did a NFT collection in the first place.
Mhm. Yeah, I love the project. However, what I would say is for me also a part of a lot of NFT projects is the community.
Mm-hmm.
And with the grades project, and I think from expectation setting point, it was often said, but Beltracchi was never really present for the community. And I think also you, like from a moderator or community builder perspective, you also have not talked to him. Am I right here?
Um, I don't speak German to begin with. Even though Beltracchi can speak not perfect English, but he can speak English. I mean, at least we can understand each other. We have been in calls with them
Mhm.
several times, obviously in the early days of development of the project, and I believe the founders they still have contact. I mean, they're still in contact with Beltracchi. Um, of that sort. So there is. I haven't spoken to him directly because I don't speak German, and he never spoke in English to us. He always spoke in German.
Mhm.
But yes, it is true. He wasn't very much present in Discord, although we did have a Q&A with him when he did came into Discord. And then you have to understand, Beltracchi is not like our age. Beltracchi is like, I wouldn't say quite old, but he's older. And then his generation don't necessarily do technology like we do. So him not being in Discord or like him not being on the socials, I hope that people understand that. And then to begin with, if we're talking about the grades, this project is an art project, and it doesn't matter if there's like, oh, there's utility, no utility, whatever. It doesn't matter. This project stands on its own as an art piece and an homage to Beltracchi's putting himself on the blockchain.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a case, and this is why I also bought one of these NFTs, because I love the art, and I also think the story of Beltracchi is very interesting. However, it also led to me to the question to ask if like an NFT project should revolve around a community. And I think it doesn't have to be. However, I think also in the future, I personally find myself attracted most to the projects which also have a community, where people, community builders like you, are also there and have like active projects also going on in the future.
No, I agree. I agree. I fully agree. Although I do have to put a disclaimer here that I no longer work for the Hashmask, and I no longer work for the grades either. And
Hmm.
then I chose to, even though I still hold the NFTs, I'm a huge Hashmask collector, and I
Hmm.
have I have a bunch of Beltracchi's paintings. I think I have about 3 or 4, if not 5. um, and it doesn't matter if I'm not a community manager. I'm still a holder of the NFTs because I, like you said, I do believe in the immutability of the art, and I do believe in his project by being the only and the sole project NFT on the blockchain, which I find quite interesting from an artist that is been censored by the establishment in the past. And and yes, I so the reason, so as a disclaimer, the reason that I'm not longer involved with these communities as a builder is because I chose to move on, and then develop and work on my own projects, and the projects that I can actively contribute myself as an individual. And I will still be a holder of these two projects, like the Greats and Beltracchi, because they were they did amount for a significant time uh, spent in the community as a builder, as a manager, and also as a collector. And I will still be a collector.
Hmm.
Regardless of what's going on with like the community, I'll still be in there supporting them on the socials or in Discord if needs be. And I'm still around. I'm still in touch with the majority of the team members and the founders of both projects, and we still talk. So it's all good.
Very, very interesting. Before I ask you about your own NFT project, which is also part of my final question, is there somebody who will replace you in the Hashmasks and also in the grades community?
The Hashmasks Discord has his own team.
Hmm.
And as for the grades, if you ask me, I don't think that project needs anybody to manage it. But as you say, community can just pull together and come up with ways to to just interact with each other. Because I don't, like I said, as you said, like the Beltracchi project is an art project. I don't think art needs extra utility aside from and aside from like just the art itself. And I don't think, and I think that the collectors of Beltracchi are highly intellectual, are not just here for a quick flip. Of course, we have some of those as well. Um, and then the majority of the collectors of Beltracchi, they are not here to have like to spend times. I mean, to spend the time in Discord. That's how I see it. And then that's one reason, one of the reasons why I'm no longer active moderating for the community, because the community does not need somebody to moderate it. The individuals that are left within the server at the moment is mainly, I don't want to stereotype, but it's mainly the people that are involved in, and they care more about their bags than they care about the project itself and the art itself. And I'll leave it at that.
You would say the people who are still in the grades project?
I'm talking about the Discord folks and yeah, not necessarily like the founders or the collectors. Like I said, there's two type of collectors in any project, and then this does not disregard the grades of from Beltracchi, and then that is the highly intellectual collectors that care about the project as an art project, and then they
Hmm.
care about the art because it comes from an artist that they like, and they know and they love. And there's also the flippers
Yeah.
that they don't care about the art, they don't care about Beltracchi, they don't care about anything else but their bags. And then these people they're gonna say anything. So like if a project is not managed in Discord or Twitter, they're gonna call it a rug, they're gonna call it a dead project. I don't think that's the case. And then this is the other thing that goes hand in hand with the grinders that jump from project to project just to pump their bags, and then to make money, because that's all they're there for. They don't care about the artist. They don't care about the art.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm totally agreeing with you there. And maybe also looking at the time, you told me that you're planning to launch your own NFT project. And can
Uh,
you already share some information or your own project? Let's say, not say NFT project, but can you share some information with me? What's that all about?
so I have a bunch of ideas. So these are in like are just concepts at the moment. Although I did started moving, I'm speaking to a bunch of friends. We're launching a Discord. Um, and this project is like no other because nobody has done it so far. But the idea here is like we will have a Discord, but whoever comes in, they are not allowed to chat. They are not allowed to text. Basically, if you post a message, you are banned. You are kicked out of the server. And then the idea here is like Discord is mainly for silence, and I think is I think I have the name in mind. So basically, it's going to be called the Silent Project. And the idea here is like you come into Discord, you're not allowed to chat. There'll be a bunch of channels for information. There'll be one channel, literally one channel alone for chatting. If you post in there, you're instantly, I mean not instantly. Whenever we catch it, we're gonna ban you and then kick you out of Discord. But then I want the activity to move on Twitter, where on Twitter you can say everything you like. Basically, like you want to talk about a project, you want to talk about why are we not allowed, like what's going on here, and then I'm not doing any of this bullshit like whitelisting, allow listing. I'm not doing any of that to attract the members because I want our Discord, to be a place of silence, a place of where you find your inner peace, where you don't have to grind into anything. Because, like I said, the meta at the moment is grinding, and I don't like it. So I'm already giving more information than I wanted to here, but I think this is going to be interesting because people are just going to come in and be like, why is nobody talking? They're going to find it really, really like puzzling. And I think that's one aspect that nobody has explored so far.
So, and you want to have the community building then on Twitter?
No, both Twitter and Discord. And I'm planning on doing it on phases. I still, like I said, this is still a concept. But I'm working right now on the Discord. I've invited a bunch of friends to help me moderate it. I'm inviting a bunch of other friends to help me conceptualize it and then finish the concept and the idea. I've been working on the NFT itself because there will be an NFT. It might not be for sale. Might be just airdrop to the people that have been most silent and be following the project and gave us
Most
the feedback on
silent.
Twitter. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a thing, and yes, and then I'm looking to gamify it because I know in Discord it's easy to just go into a project and mute the whole server. Then you don't have to interact there. That's easy. But at the same time, I want to gamify it where I will make you, or I will try and make you break the rule. So basically, I will try and incentivize you to speak, to text, and then that goes against the policies of like the whole ethos of like what the project is, like the silent project is. But I've done this remotely in a bunch of other communities where we had like token airdrops, and then if nobody clicked on the red packet, there's an automated bot that does this in Discord. If nobody clicked on the red packet, that amount of token airdrop, which has like actual monetary value, would increase the next time you airdrop the next drop, and then for a certain amount of time, obviously. And then people yeah, I mean, you can see people's minds are just going crazy like when they see like the value is doubling every time nobody's claiming it. And then somebody does claim, and then be like, everybody would be jumping on it, be like, why did you do that? The value would just increase. And then yeah, people started doing airdrops on their own. It's like, I claim this pot of money, now I'm gonna airdrop it to everybody that did not click. and everybody that did click, they're going to be left out and then banned from this account. So like something along those lines, something that has not been done before. And I'm not looking to monetize on it because that's not the scope of it. The scope of this is literally to invite people that want to find solace and just be with like with their inner peace and then like discover themselves, but also gamify it to a point that we have to keep people interested and keep an eye on the project, because otherwise people will just like mute the server and then just not interact with it and be like, oh yeah, I've been a diamond hand silencer and I've never spoken before. Or like send a text in this Discord. So I think this is the main concept, but it will develop into something much bigger than this.
Yeah, it sounds quite interesting, and also I like the part that it's quite secretive. I also thought about just having like a project where you have to solve some riddles and where it also leads you, let's say, all over the internet to have like some sort of like a digital treasure hunt, because I think this might be very interesting. And I mean, you have all the stuff with how it's called, like the back rooms, or how is it called on Reddit? You know it with the yellow rooms, the stuff.
I don't freaking ready. I mean, not anymore. I used to, but I stopped like a long time ago.
So there are some very strange projects where people are also trying to solve some clues, and I think there are also so-called digital artists. Some might call them pranksters behind them, and
All
they have
right.
all these clues all over the internet. There have been communities building around these projects, and I thought this might be also cool to have like an NFT project, which is not only based like as one project, but which leads you like all over the internet to solve maybe some riddles in
Oh
order to
yes.
get somewhere, or something like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think this
I think
is
I've seen this in the Bitcoin community. Somebody were doing like they were putting wallets, not wallet, the seed phrase of a wallet scattered across the whole America. And then if you want to find that and solve that puzzle that has, I don't know, 10 Bitcoins or 20 Bitcoins or whatever. But this was back in 2018, I think. I think these are still happening. I'm just disconnected from the Bitcoin community lately. So this was a thing, and I think it's still a thing, where people go scour across the country to find this seed phrase and then put it together in order to decipher it and then collect the Bitcoins. And it's still happening. Or like art pieces, like are sometimes the seed phrase is painted as a graffiti on a wall. Sometimes it's as a poster, or sometimes it's in a movie scene, and like you have to piece it all together. So all these experiences are cool. I like this type of stuff. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we do something along those lines as well. But at the moment, it's just in the concept phases, and I'm yet to develop the rest of the system and the concept and mechanics of like how everything goes. And I would like to do it in tiers and phases, where we have the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, and so forth. And the idea here is the people that came into the first wave and understood the project, those people are the mostly rewarded, basically. So that I need to gamify that system, but I like what other projects have done. I'm sure you've been following what Yuga Labs is doing with the Bored Ape Yacht Club,
Mhm.
and they also have like the first collectors of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They are the most rewarded, and then it's something along those same lines, where the same concept applies, but then it's different because of the gamifying aspect of it, with silence, basically. But
very
that's the project that I'm thinking of launching.
very interesting. And if people want to join the project, where can they, let's say, stay up to date or follow you, or is there
They,
even a
yeah,
link?
there is no link at the moment because this is not public knowledge. The Discord is being put together today, literally. But if they want to find out more about the project, they should definitely follow me on Twitter. My handle is at dust213.
Mhm.
Or if they search on Twitter Adidust, as Adidust, they'll be able to find my post because I post quite a lot. So just stay tuned, turn notifications on, or just follow me basically on Twitter or in Discord, and then you'll be able to find out more about the project when I'm ready to push it. because I'm not doing any type of marketing. Literally, I'm just gonna push it on Twitter, and I'm gonna ask my friends to talk about it, and that's about it. I'm not doing, like I said, no whitelisting, no grinding, no nothing. It's gonna be word of mouth. That's how I want it to spread. I'm not gonna pay any influencers because I don't believe in any of that. And yeah, it's literally Twitter.
Perfect. Sounds amazing. I will also link your Twitter in the show notes,
Please do.
so you have it there. And thank you very much for the interview. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you as well. And hopefully we'll do another one in the future where we talk about like all the development that happened in the past years.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast episode. The next episode might be delayed by a little bit of time because I will get my nose operated. So the inside of my nose is, let's say, not very straight, and it's not so good for breathing. And yeah, so I don't know how long it will get to get me back on track. So please have a little bit patience. And yeah, I hope to see you here again soon. Cheers.